In 1996, we called the band Thermal and a Quarter, and we started as a semi-pro band. Yeah, I was in college. I used to be a major music buff.
So from 18 to starting or getting into drumming and then getting into the career journey, what are the next things for you?
Never ever thought I'd play, but that happened quite by accident. It was a friend who who wanted to learn to play the drums, and he wanted some company, and so I went with him.
How the early years for you? Was it like very protected, very nice? What kind of music were you into?
Probably early 2000s or something like that. All of us decided we quit.
Hi, welcome to another episode of Attitude Makeover. My guest today is Rajeev Rajagopal, the drummer and the face behind Thermal and a Quarter. This has been a band that I grew up with from my early 20s to the current stage. And as I met Rajeev, one of the conversations we had was to draw an analogy between the 7 notes of music to the 7 notes of change. And that's what we're trying to do today. Go deeper into understanding the power of music and the role of music, and through his journey, understand the 7 notes of change. I hope you like this conversation as always. Rajeev, thank you so much. This has been long too. What, it's a year since we started the conversation?
Yes, I am. I don't know. I'm petrified to be here, honestly. A lot of stress with the kind of illustrious line of people who've been on this so far, and I'm like, okay, let's do this. So thanks for having me, but I hope it's worth
Yeah,
your
it
while
is
and
definitely.
everything.
Thank you so much for that humility. Thank you.
No, it's serious. Honesty.
So I've known you from Adobe, but before that, there's been a journey, there's been a reason why you got into music, how TAAQ came into being, and all that stuff. So I want to start very early. What were early years like? When did the drums really get into your life?
Yeah, I was in college. I used to be a major music buff from, very early on, listening to a lot of rock music, cassettes, and had a huge cassette collection, and would enjoy listening to music. I never ever thought I'd play, but that happened quite by accident. It was a friend who wanted to learn to play the drums, and he wanted some company, and so I went with him and to some drum classes, and yeah, I mean, he lasted for just that one first class. He never came back after that, but I kind of got stuck on.
How old were you?
I was 18.
Okay.
Yeah. It was late. It wasn't like in school we had music classes and stuff like that, and really, we had amazing music teachers and all of that, but took it seriously only in college and started learning one-on-one classes and stuff like that. Yeah.
How were early years for you? Was it like very protected, very nice? What kind of music were you into?
Yeah, so earlier, so I grew up in a part of town which was, the cantonment areas, and the kind of music influences that happened from friends and neighbors around that time was amazing. Got into Western music from a very young age, even though I'm from a very traditional Malayali family. I didn't listen to any of that music, unfortunately. Now I do listen to all kinds. But in the beginning itself, started with a lot of rock music, and it was, it was an area called Victoria Layout, where I grew up in, and there was a large Anglo-Indian community, and the school I went to was also, it was a Frank Anthony public school, and it was an Anglo-Indian school, and there was so much emphasis on music. There would be music competitions in school, and we'd watch all our seniors play. So a lot of exposure to live music right then. And Bangalore was a beautiful small place that time, the old pensioners paradise or whatever it was called. and a lot of concerts would happen, and you'd end up meeting the whole of Bangalore pretty much at concerts. And so it was great. I mean, childhood was brilliant, thanks to the lovely city also that we are in, and the kind of school and exposure we had. Yeah.
Were you into making playlists? Like, I used to have this playlist. Like, my playlist was like a mix of everything, right from White Snake to
Yeah.
everybody. What was
Yeah,
yours?
we used to make mixtapes. So we
Yeah.
used to go and buy the blank, I think it was TDK cassettes, and you'd get different kinds of cassettes. You get a normal, and then you get a metal and a chrome, and different quality of tapes, and then take it to this bootlegger and put these songs onto it. And then later on, you got the double decks, and we'd start collecting and creating different moods. And my sister was heavily into pop, and I used to make play mixtapes for her too, with all her romantic love songs and all that. But I was always into the heavy stuff, AC/DC, all the old Slayer, Metallica, Anthrax. I mean, and even heavier stuff. I started with really heavy stuff.
What
And
are
then-
heavier?
Yeah, heavier. There was like Cannibal Corpse and
Oh, really?
Sepultura and Death and Obituary and yeah, I mean, there were some really the real old school thrash metal and growling stuff. That's when it started,
Yeah.
and yeah, that fascinated me a lot. And but it was a short phase. Stuck with metal, good Judas Priest and Megadeth and Slayer and all of those kind of bands was what I would trip on in college.
So I have to tell you, recently, about 2 years back, just before COVID, we went for a conference to SFO, and Judas Priest was playing.
Oh, really? Wow.
So we were like, we have to go. But they're so old.
Yes. Yeah, they never age. I mean, Rob Halford, yeah, man. I mean, kudos, man. Those guys, they stuck on, and and I believe Metallica is coming next year to India again in 25, and the concert. I think the Metallica gig that I went for in Bangalore was. I've been to all kinds of concerts in Bangalore. Again, really lucky to be in Bangalore and have, from the Stones to Sting and Mark Knopfler and all kinds of great bands, Guns N' Roses and
You opened for one of them.
yeah, we opened for a few of them because we had the opportunity. We opened for Guns N' Roses, which was big. We opened for Deep Purple a couple of times.
Wow.
We opened. I mean, we played at a festival along with Megadeth and Machine Head, and then a lot of the jazz guys also have come in. And being the local band out here, we've always been called to warm up the crowds. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing that they keep going on, and Deep Purple, we opened for them just last year. Was it? Yeah, Bandlands, last year's Bandlands, we opened for them, and my God, the energy! Those guys just, I mean, they look old and they look really done and dusted, but when they get on stage and play. Yeah, it's quite an inspiration for us people who are slowly, I mean, not slowly, very quickly catching up to
And
that
the
age.
humility with which you open, the kind of guest you got to me. Thank you so much.
No.
Look at this.
I mean, we play. Playing
So
music.
from 18, just starting or getting into drumming and then getting into the career journey, you were in the tech space for a really long time. When did the band form? When did you transition? How was that?
1996, we called the band Thermal and a Quarter, and we started as a semi-pro band.
Okay.
And with every, life milestone that happened after that, it was like, okay, this is the end of the band. I got into my MBA and was like, oh, I have to study. There's no way I can do this. But we continued, and then had gotten the jobs, and and marriage, and then children, and all of that. You'd assume that this is it. This thing couldn't continue, but it's just been living gig to gig.
Wow.
I guess we just started getting gigs, and you can't say no to a gig. We very rarely said no to going and playing, especially in our early years, which was it's just getting flying time. So we'd go and play, and as we kept playing more, the things started getting more and more serious. And I think, yeah, I had to take a call at one point whether I should try to do this as a formal career, and probably early 2000s or something like that, all of us decided we'll quit. We're going to become big rock stars and stuff like that. And chucked our fancy, really fancy jobs.
Yeah.
Very good jobs that we had, and really nice people.
So all three of you were in jobs?
Yeah, everyone was working, yeah, in different kind of domains. And
Okay.
that time, by then Chandy had left, and so it was Rudy. He was in advertising. Bruce was teaching in Christ College, as well as doing content writing for tech companies itself. So we all were working, and we decided to quit, and with no plan. There was no idea. We like, just, yeah, people will call us for shows and we'll make money and all of that. And yeah, that's when reality comes in your face. And exactly 365 days later, we totally flat broke, had nothing, no work as well. We were playing, we were enjoying the rehearsals and writing new music, and that was a great phase as well for us. But we had to go back and look for jobs. I mean, sheepishly went back to all the old bosses and all that, said, please somehow find some space. And then got back into a career. And a little later, I mean, maybe about 4 years after that, we actually put a proper plan in place, and decided to start the academy as well. And
You
then got
decided back then itself
Yeah,
about the
no,
academy?
it's about 14 years, or maybe even more. I usually have Bruce next to me, who knows all these dates and facts perfectly.
So it's more the friendship that then pulled it together, or was it the music that brought the three of you as friends? What stuck around? Because through this you got married, all of you had your own lives happening, but this is the common thread that sort of journeyed with you guys, right? What
Yeah.
stuck around in that? It's a great partnership, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's fantastic, and I think it's a partnership of learning more than anything else, and now, especially after getting into the education space as well, because initially it was just the music. We just get into the jam room, start rehearsing blindly. We'd practice 6 days a week, and we'd have 5 shows a year or something like that. Okay, but we never cared about the shows. We just love to come and jam and keep playing. And it's now it's a lot of both the friendship, the relationship, the history, and there's a very strong connect with the music as well. And again, not just the songs we write. The songs we write are nice. They come out and we like our songs, and they're like our babies, and a big like a photo album of our life, actually, because over 150 songs, something like more than that, are recorded and released, and a bunch more there, but all about different phases in our lives. So the songs are there, but just the playing itself, and that's what at least keeps me going. It's that musical communication that you're having, right? It's so mysterious. I mean, even till to this morning, I'm just coming from rehearsal, actually. You wonder how this happens, and you're talking different languages, because one person's playing the guitar, one person's playing a drum, one person's playing the bass. And I think there's so much to learn from that, and so much to derive from that I think both of us have done this because we don't want that to go away. And everything else can happen, work, relationship, kids, and all of that is in another sphere. But this music thing, it's quite interesting. Yeah, I mean, difficult to articulate well, but there's a lot of magic that happens when you just
Was
play.
it there right from the beginning, or did it really pick up after? Like, was there a?
I think there was a lot more. I mean, there was no awareness that time, that this kind of thing is happening, and we were just playing, and shows were happening. We were winning competitions, and then we were getting called to play festivals. And it wasn't that we had a plan and it was written down. Now we're going for, going after something or whatever. It was very clear. We wanted to be as honest as we could be to ourselves. We're very clear, and we understand our abilities as well. When with this thing, it's like never-ending learning. I haven't even scratched. I mean, it's not even the tip of the iceberg in terms of how much there is to learn. I'm still learning. I'm still doing courses in music itself and studying, and it's so now there's a lot more awareness. Okay, that and there are many modes in which you can operate, and with different people as well. The bands also had many people throughout, and when it's 30 years, it's actually quite a long time. So the current lineup is, I can say, cumulatively at least 15 years together. We've played, so it's not like they knew, but before that, 10 years was different, and the first 5 years was very different, and our priorities when we're playing are also different. Um, and since we write our own music, it's also the style of the genre. You can call it a genre or a style or a way of playing. That also keeps changing over the time, and there isn't a morning that I don't wake up and want to get onto the kit and say, now this is something I've got to figure out and I've got to work out, and there's so much of it. Sowjanya, it's insane amount there is. I mean, you see people like John McLaughlin, or even the Judas Priest guys and stuff like that. You'd say, man, it's great to be able to just do this, going on for that long. So I think that's what we're doing, and it's very simple at the end of it. Do what it takes to keep playing.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
Whether the playing makes you famous or gets you a lot of money, or you make a big hit, and all of those are wonderful things. It's lovely if it happens, but sometimes it's also detrimental when those things happen. We met some of our friends who made it really big in the industry as well, and then they get kind of, things are controlled too much, and they, especially in the film side of things, because that was one path we could have taken very easily,
Music
which
for
is
movies.
to go and work in Bollywood. Now it's a little better now, because there are a lot of live opportunities as well, and it's not only tracks. I mean, still some of the big guys still play only to tracks, and it's like they're miming and stuff like that, but that's one thing. And then your own expression as well. It's very difficult to work over there where there is a mandate, because you're writing for a film, and that film, that scene better work with the music. You can't say, no, I feel like doing this right now. And so we've had the freedom, luckily, to do stuff. Who knows whether the stuff we do is good or bad, whatever. We've had it good being able to do this, and we're trying hard not to suck, and keep doing it as well as we can.
Actually, you do have groupies who follow you all everywhere. I saw that for the first time in Bangalore when I came to some of your concerts. I remember that, they were these.
We're very
Really, there were these front rows who were there in pretty much every concert wherever you all were performing, and they knew your songs, they knew every part of your lyrics, and
No. That's been incredibly rewarding. The fans, the people who've actually spent time listening. So one thing I remember clearly is when we opened for Deep Purple for the first time. It was pretty all right. It wasn't like we were booed off stage and all. It was a nice concert. We did well. And then the next big show we got a lot later was maybe about 6 or 7 years later, was we got to open for Jethro Tull. So when Jethro Tull played and we opened for them, again, and we were talking to Ian Anderson backstage. And Ian Anderson was telling us how it was for them when they opened for Led Zeppelin. Okay, so Jethro Tull had opened for Led Zeppelin, and Ian Anderson is telling us, the whole crowd is waiting for Led Zeppelin, and we had to go, and and it was a good concert and all, and we were like, great. And so we went to open, and that gig, when we went to open, there were a lot of people in the crowd who were asking for our songs and calling out names of our songs and singing along to the songs, and it was totally rewarding. It felt, wow, this is, and this was. Yeah, I mean, it was still the time of CDs and stuff. I think that particular show we released an album also called Plan B, and I remember giving out CDs and all over there. So CDs were still there that time, and so it wasn't like now, where there's so much distribution happening. It was great that people were putting the effort, to go buy a CD, listen to it, and it wasn't like it's always in your pocket, like every song is on your phone today. So some things, were working, and that obviously fueled us, but I think it is a lot more than that that happens, and on a daily basis that happens. And I can tell you can talk to Bruce and Leslie and Tony, and it's that thing that happens, which is more important than everything else. The gigs and the recordings and production, and you listen to it after you record, and you can get a minor ego boost saying, oh, okay, this sounds good and all that, but we're ready to push it to the next one, try something new, always continuously trying
all
new.
three of you are big into learning, discovering.
Four of us now. Four
all
of us
you
now.
are big into.
Man, there's no escaping. I mean, that if you're not doing that, then what are you doing? We have like material for like what's at least maybe 10 shows of an hour each without repeating a single song. That much material is there, and we keep writing more material. And this is not just some jam band stuff where people are just going and you just have a few ideas and then you're just going and jam. These are well constructed, organized songs that we have that's put together, and because of how long we've been doing it, and from day one we've been focusing on writing our own music, that much repertoire is there. So that's what keeps it going. Sowjanya. I mean, now we're writing stuff. We wrote a whole bunch of stuff, and then we were like, it's okay, let's not do anything with it. Let's try something else. So there's material for one whole album. So I soon we'll be going into studio with at least 30, 40 songs. You should have that many, and then you go and you get into a zone and start putting it together. So we're trying to be in that position now. Yeah.
So one thing that we discovered when we were all sitting and talking about this conversation is there seems to be this thread right from the beginning all the way to today, where there's this drive, there's an innate inner drive to change perception of how we look at music itself.
Yeah.
Did we get that right?
No, that's very, very true. That's very, very true. I mean, the perception of music and the perception of even what is good music, what is so that when you start writing your own stuff, you start understanding this a lot more. And again, when you're writing it together with four people.
Oh, you do it together?
Yeah. Four of us. Bruce writes all the lyrics. Okay, 99%. I've written a couple of songs, but he writes most of the lyrics, and he has some musical ideas that he brings out, and we sit together and we're trying to do this, and that's where this thing happens, which is the drive, to how does this, even the last song that we finished writing, let's say, you finish it and then you listen and you're like, wow, you can't say, oh, this is the part that I brought in, and that is the part that happened. If I didn't say this, it wouldn't have been that. All that, you don't see it. And then there are songs that we've been playing for 20 years now. Yeah. The last music video that we put out of a live show song of ours, it's called Humpty Dumpty. That song was written in 97, 98. Okay. And the song has gone through some insane changes with many, many things happening to it. Yeah. I mean, the fundamental of it is still there, and you don't remember. I don't remember. There's some complex time signatures and all that happened in that. I mean, I didn't even know what a time signature was when we were doing that. Now you have all the technical terms and metric modulation and all these kind of things are thrown at us, and we're like, oh, that stuff just happened. We were, writing it down. But now the approach is a lot more different. Now the approach is with a lot more awareness, and that also is very, very interesting, and that actually puts you in a lot more difficult. The challenges are a lot more with that, So it's very interesting. Both.
I have a question here. See, there are two ways of learning I have found. One is you're very unaware. You just flowing with the wind or just moving along. And in that process, you're enjoying the process and you're just learning new things. Whereas the second one is where you're very aware. And then with that awareness, then you're, following the flow. But that awareness leads to you growing better and more and more. But when you work as a group like this and you're writing songs together and evolving, which path is it? Because all three cannot be in the same stage at any point in life.
Yeah, I mean, stage in life will have certain influences on you. But when you're playing music and the kind of stuff that you're playing itself, sometimes can follow different paths. It can be like there's a lot of improvisation that can happen, okay? And there's a lot of rigidity also that can be there. There is no one way of doing it, it's not. But awareness, difficult question, but like one thing is, we never did drugs and played, for example, okay? Not that we didn't want, not that we didn't want to, okay? But it was like, it was because if we were doing it, all of us would have to be high together. Otherwise, it's just doesn't seem fun. I mean, there are two guys who are high, one guy is not high, and it's like, so I think in that sense, everybody needs to be either aware or unaware together, okay? And that would work. But now we are a lot more. I think we are deriving a lot more out of this operation, just opening it up completely and seeing what is it that and at the core of almost any bit of music is an emotion, okay? And how can that be transferred, and how can you that it's almost extra musical. I mean, musical, when you say, you can say it's technique, there's mathematics, there's physics, there are notes, there are beats, and there's keys and all of that, and chords, and you can put all these things together, these technical aspects. But there are certain things which are a little more than that. And I think that's what we are right now really experimenting. It helps that we know all of this stuff now. Initially, we were just playing. It was just purely, I mean, for me personally, it was very instinctive. I played just pure instinct. What I hear, I'll just go do what I want. Sometimes I'll get so excited by it, I'll drive it in some direction. If people liked it, they might follow. If they didn't, they'll tell me to stop. Then, then we'll do something else, and that's how it will go. But now it's a lot more organized. I think we're getting older, and let's talk about this. And I mean, we do have a lot of spaces for improvised jams and things like that in our songs as well. We don't do a lot of that now. In the past, we would do a lot of that. Now, also, it's conducive to do that in certain kinds of shows. Like if it's your own gig and you're the only one playing. Now, if you're playing at a festival, for example, and there are 4 bands before you and some other bands after you, and given this much time, it's better to be a little more organized about what you put out.
So from today, you being where you are and having lived all these journeys, how has your perception of this journey, from when you started to today, changed?
I mean, I've always perceived it as one of the most honest things to do, because it's kind of a bit weird. I was just talking to my wife also the other day and saying, for so many years, it's a stick beating a drum, and I'm telling you guys, I have to wake up every morning. I'm practicing, and my mind is also, sometimes I'm never present with the family, or I'm always thinking about something, about a song or something that I have to learn and practice and stuff like that, and all towards just this thing of or with I'm sure with melodic instruments, it's all about all these notes and tones, and there are 7 notes, and then everything comes out of it, and so much expression. The same thing with rhythm. There's so many patterns, and I mean, my idols, like the drummers who I worship, they've been doing this for 70, 80 years, and still at it, still playing. Some of them I've had the good fortune of meeting as well.
Like who?
And no, so like so there are a couple of guys. I mean, like, so there's Dave Weckl, for example. Okay, he is still relevant. He's still playing. I mean, he's not the Taylor Swift. Okay, he's not selling a stadium.
Yeah.
He's still a support. He plays. He's got his own band now. He's a great band leader. He's got a big band project as well. But he's played with guys like Chick Corea. Again, none of these are big names, compared to the big commercial names that you hear. And it's still, that journey is still so important. It's still so important. It's still, he's serious about what he's doing. Nowadays it's great. You have all these hangout sessions, online hangout sessions you could hang with. On Fridays, once a month or once in 2 months. He does these.
You can just do
I mean, he's connected up, and everybody logs in, and asking him questions. He's playing a bit, and it's fascinating, to be so close to them as well. So and so my journey as well. So my perception. I started off playing, and then you suddenly, on the social front, things change. There's a lot of attention you get for, whoa, this guy's a cool drummer, whatever. Before that, nobody would talk to you at all, okay? And then that's a motivation, you get to meet all the girls who want to talk to you in college, and also that's fun. And then after that, even a little later on, and stuff like, you do feel obviously good about the attention you get. But soon that wears out, okay? And I mean, at least it wore out for me really quickly, and it became meaningless, especially after shows. Guys would come and say, great gig. I would have played so badly that day. Like, so badly I would have played, and everyone, oh, awesome show. And most of the time you're playing in bars where people are drunk, and it doesn't matter, and what you did doesn't even matter. So then the actual performance part of things became very less important. And even now, every time I still am more excited about my rehearsal sessions. Going in for rehearsals is a lot more exciting. The gigs are a bit, there's a stress about whether we'll do well, and the client is paying our money, and we need to present ourselves well. Will the sound be nice, and the production values be good? Yeah. Those are a different thing. The actual playing, maybe smaller, more intimate shows still feel good. Yeah. It's not that those things feel bad, but it's different.
Yeah.
But the rehearsal, the individual practice, that's amazing. And sometimes actually all these shows, they take away from the individual. Like, I have a lesson plan, I'm trying to work on something. I can't do that. I'll sit and work on some other songs for the show. And so, Sowjanya, it's important to, when you're doing something like this, there's no exit. You're not looking, there's no goal, there's no thing that, okay, now I've arrived or I've reached, and that space to be in is fantastic. It's seriously the best. There's no yesterday, no tomorrow. You're in the moment. You're just trying to keep it going. That's it. So that's why that way the perception hasn't. I think it's soon. Initially, a little bit it gets to your head and all of that, and all those shenanigans and all happen. But very soon, I mean, if you keep playing, you realize every day. I mean, just go through YouTube shorts or whatever. Millions of mind-blowing musicians. It's so inspiring. So yeah, that's what keeps it going.
So as an introvert, because that's one thing I thought I connected really well with you as well, because going on stage and all must be like a really big deal, right? From there to being so famous, and then coming to a realization that those are all momentary. This is what is the bigger drive I have. If I sort of draw an analogy to change, you become self-aware, there's a lot of reflection, and then you're living in the moment. And that requires one to journey through that whole transition. What was that like? Like, from Rajeev, who was like in Fabs, to suddenly Rajeev, the drummer, everybody wants to meet after the show, to Rajeev now, okay, this is just one part of it, this is who I am. That journey, what's it like?
No, it's a journey of learning throughout. You go through so many different kinds of situations, and even just academically, like learning. Okay, and I think learning one thing, it's always better when it's you compare it with uh, different disciplines. So I learn. I'm a student of drums, and I learn the drums better because I see great architects or great lawyers or great program managers or great business leaders, and you got to compare it with that. If you see this, and I think there's art in what you do. You are a great artist. You're doing the podcast series, and you've gotten into it, and you're passionate about it. In every aspect, it's there. And while going through all of these different phases, the one thing that was constant throughout is the drums. Is that stick and the drum things.
I can draw an analogy. So for me, that thread has been cycle. Right? For you, it was the sticks.
Oh, yeah.
For me, it's the cycle. Right? Like throughout, ups, downs, everything, I have noticed that it's got such a huge role to play, and somehow it never comes to the forefront. It's like it's been part of me.
Yeah.
Like you keep going back. I keep going back to it, and I have different playlists. It's my zone. But that zone gives me the connections for everything else to fall in place, for functioning in the right way. And it does bring in knowledge from there into this as well. I think that's what you're trying to
No, it
essence
is. It is. It's, see, all humans. I mean, we all have this brain, and then there's the body, and then there's the mind. Okay, now this whole body and mind thing is quite amazing, and what you think and you express and you feel. I'm quite emotional. I used to be very short-tempered. I hope I'm not still. But at one point it's like even when you're playing, right, and you're not getting a particular, there's a lot of syncopation and stuff that has to happen, has to have balance. And you're like, why isn't there? You break it down. You have to be brutally honest with yourself. And that's the same thing that I do when I get emotional these days about something. You just get brutally honest. Say, is that really the problem? Or is it something else? You might be hungry right now, or or greedy, or whatever, being nasty, and that's why you're feeling. So I learned all this through music.
What you're saying is it really helps you be present.
Oh, completely. And imagine being that with four other people. I mean, that's what when the music, when things have to come together, that moment where there's vibration of a string, there are different tones, there's a singer and thing doing this thing together. It's magic. Yeah. It's beautiful, and it's not about how complicated what you're doing is. It can be the most simplest tune that you're putting together, and that never, ceases to amaze me. I see that in my students and the academic kids. They go out and perform. Oh my God. I can see that happening in them.
Yeah.
I can see, oh yes, now they're in.
I want to slightly understand one important part of this, right? When this is the thread that's holding you throughout in this journey, and you're four people coming together to write songs, create it, it's not like in the last 30 years, this four coming together as a relationship is all smooth. You must have had moments where it's alone, it's just you, and there's this distance or whatever. Was there a complete, I hit this, and this is where I became back from? Was there a rock bottom in this process that you saw?
I think there were many. It's also got to do with expectations. You need to set the right expectations with yourself first. That's when, again, being brutally honest. Like, I want to play like David. Yeah, that's great. You can say you want to play like that, but that's not going to happen. And if you can't do that, that's one of the rock bottoms you go to, and you're like, oh, how do I do this? And then you start working, and then it takes time and effort and a lot of, especially the drums, it's quite physical also. So, but when you can't even do that, you start, like when the pandemic struck, for example, we couldn't meet. The band couldn't meet, and you can't play, and I started thinking a lot that and then also realized, is this quite a, it is quite a privilege that we have to be able to even just play. There used to be a time when we had a jam room in Barton Center on MG Road, and there were offices there, so I had to go and practice like really early morning before the offices open, otherwise it would be too loud. And I would go by 6 or whatever in the morning, or even earlier sometimes. And I remember once the security guard, he said, "Can I come up with you?" I said, "Yeah, sure, come on." He came and he watched me practice, and after I finished practice, he's like, "Is this your duty?" Yeah, he said, "Sir, idu nimdu duty na." I said, "Yeah, this is my duty." Okay, what he meant by duty is like for him, duty is his shift. Okay,
Yeah.
that's his work.
Yeah, so.
And I said, "Yeah, this is my duty, and I finished my duty now. Other guys will show up, and we probably jam or do something else." And then is this pursuit of excellence? Like, oh, I want to play like, I want to be, really reach the pinnacle of rhythmic knowledge or abilities and stuff like that. Isn't that some sort of a perverted privilege, or you're looking for something quite, it's quite entitled to be able to do that when the person next door is struggling to survive? And I would think about it a lot, and now, at least in my head, it's this pursuit of it's curiosity. Okay, and I think it's a elitism of curiosity that is there. It's not an elitism of money or power or class or anything like that. It is an elitism of wanting to know more and more and more. So it's like greedy for the knowledge of playing and wanting to do this, and luckily the side effects of all these so far have been good only. It's making me understand things better, people better, situations better, and we use our music as responsibly as we can. We're not writing random stuff today. I mean, some of the stuff that's out there today, extremely derogatory towards women. I mean, you're seeing every day the kind of things that happen, or with religion, and so we try to put out good messages as well through it, through what we do. Shutting
Do you guys
down.
have a fallout as a group ever?
No. We never. It wasn't like the band was formed, nor was the band disbanded.
You all were in a
we did.
situationship.
We were playing at the college band happened. We weren't even called Thermal and a Quarter. We were just playing for the college team, and that also a lot of politics. So we decided we'll only be the B team, the college B team. We were the A team. Some guys wanted to. Wanted to. We were the B team. That's how we were formed, and we hardly think we were in the same college, so we played. Then there was a guy who was not in our college. Okay, he wanted to play with us, and that was actually the reason why we formed a semi-pro entity, and it had to be named. So it was named Thermal and a Quarter. Okay, and we went and played in St. John's Automuse. That was our first debut concert. So it wasn't even our idea. It was, and this guy played just one show with us. Recently, he connected up with us for our 20th or 25th anniversary or something, and he called us, and he's the guy, because of him the band formed, actually, technically speaking. And how would you be a member of this band? Okay, show up. If you showed up and you hung around in the studio, you were in the band. So there was no heavy, now you are in this band, now you are not. Like, even for that matter, even talking about Tony, who's playing with us now, he played with us, and he used to like watching us, before playing with us. He used to come to all the shows, and he knew the songs and all of that. And then he would hang out, and then he played with us. We wanted a rhythm guitarist for a particular show, so he joined us, and he played for many years. Then he got something else happening in some others in Bombay. He went, and he didn't play with us. Then he came back, and he played with us. Same thing happened with Chandy, and so Tony is still playing with us. Chandy, of course, Chandy there was some other, but he left. He went out of the country, and then when he came back, we already had a bass player, so he could play keys. So he played. I mean, if you show up,
You're in.
you play. Yeah,
Part of it.
yeah. You just show up and play. So there's been no fallout. If you didn't show up, you weren't there.
Good. Can we talk about money?
Of course, you can talk about money.
Thou were in a massively successful IT track. Last stint was Adobe, was it?
No, I was in ST Micro was my
ST
last.
was your micro.
Yeah, before that was July.
Oh,
July
is where we met,
Systems.
not Adobe.
No,
Yeah,
July. July, and before that was Intel,
Yeah.
and before that was a company called Kirloskar Multimedia.
Okay.
Fantastic company, fantastic people. Again, I'm telling you, everyone talks about corporate as a big, bad, evil thing, and I never felt that. And when I say I've left corporate and joined and doing my passion full time, everyone was saying, "Oh, you've left that poisonous world of." It's never been that. I had best people and best colleagues and talented, extremely talented people, much more talented than I'm seeing now in this area. They're, I mean, geniuses, at work. And that's when again I saw I had exposure of some fantastic people who may or may not have been successful, but was so cutting edge.
Yeah.
Kirloskar Multimedia, when I started off over there, they were doing CD-ROMs. They were making games on multimedia CDs, interactive games, and I was doing a bit of programming for that. And not only they knew I was playing, and Rajeev Kirloskar and Maria were working there. They helped the band so much. They helped us do a demo recording and stuff like that. Moved to I2 Technologies again. Did some corporate gigs for the company itself. Intel, met some amazing people over there. So yeah, it was great. So the last job was great. Program manager, ST Micro. Next thing would have been move out of the country, and that's by then we had put in a plan and all of that, and we'd released an album. It was called This Is It. And that was that was my resignation letter.
That was it.
I gave that CD to my boss saying,
Oh, wow.
"This is my thing." He was a very, very nice man again, Italian gentleman, and he was pretty sure I'm joining some competitor company, and he was like, "Just tell me what you want, we'll work it out." I'm like, "No, I want to play the drums." So this was it, and what it was like from flying to Milan and Grenoble and all these places in Europe and Shanghai and all that to Shivaji Nagar bus stand, eating fruit salad outside there waiting for my bus. That was it in terms of the transition. So the first few years were very, very tough. Absolutely broke.
So when you quit, it was not like the band was making you. It was not like you all were making money.
We still don't make any money. I mean, okay. I mean, it does all things put together. Many things put together. We're paying the school fees, the EMI, all that is happening. Nothing compared to what Bollywood success stories and all, or it's quite disproportionate, and that's been my pet peeve, if you want to call it, with TAAQ Academy. The underlying thing with TAAQ Academy is making music a legitimate career option. Trying to make music a legitimate. Why can't it be professional? Why can't I get an appointment letter? Why can't I get a job? Why can't I be appraised? And I'm providing a lot of value, and why can't I be secure as a musician and say, no, I'm not going to not have the money to pay the rent or fees. So that's what we've been trying to grow through TAAQ Academy.
Isn't that the perception change that you're trying to work out as well?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
In India, I mean, abroad, we played so much abroad. And it's strange, even for Indian cultural music, the Indian classical scene, there's very few people who make money, and it's an entire David and Goliath story. The lion's share is taken by 4 or 5 big people, and it's much better now though. There's still a lot more independent things that you can get your own. Book my show is great. You can create your own ticketing thing. You can hire a hall on your own. You can go get sponsors. Which is what we did, DIY from day one. We've been the industry, so to speak, has been around the scene and these event companies and booking, and they all that has been around, but that's never been something we depended on, because it's not dependable, and the kind of stuff that you got to do there, it's not happening. It's really not. I mean, I worked in professional companies, and I said that's not what we should be doing. We are providing a lot of value here ourselves, and why can't it be? So it started really small, and now it's okay. It's settled. But the pandemic came and really knocked us quite badly, which has been fantastic learning. We're doing online now. We have students from 22 countries logging in and learning music from us, which is fantastic. Yeah.
So, coming back to money, how is it like not earning money? You had a family back then.
Yeah, luckily I hadn't had kids when I did the first time I quit. The first time we quit, I've been in a relationship for so long before I was married also, so yeah. And marriage was again one thing to do, and just finish it off. So I was in a relationship.
What do you mean one thing to do?
As in terms of a function and calling people. I was already living in with the person I was in love with, and all of that. But then first they were, no, you cannot get married and all. Then they were like, no, you better get married because you'll stay here. We were like, we don't want to get married. We just want to be around. But yeah, I wasn't, the first time I quit my job and did this was random, no savings, no dependence.
Okay.
Forget saving. We didn't need anything. We were happy. The Ganesh Juice Center was there. Go have one. We high as a kite, on whatever. Go get one juice and walk home. We didn't want nothing. Mom stayed with parents and all that, so no dependence. It was fine. The second time around, I was already married, and all I needed to know was I needed 2 months' salary in my account. I needed 60 days, and I knew I could do things. I like this whole management thing, and I had gigs lined up. The next few gigs, and by then that would come in, and then next thing, and next thing, and next thing. And we had an investment plan as well in place. This was much before all the startup economy and all of that happened in India. We decided to raise money in the correct way, and we had some phenomenally amazing people who completely believed in us and believed in the music and that there's something like this should come out from India. It wasn't that everyone came and just gave us a big chunk of money and said, now go, load up on music and stuff like that. It did come in very small trickles. Some of them helped us with rent and paying for our studio, and then we bought the academy. So I was teaching on my own as well. Bruce was teaching on his own, and we decided to put the students together, create an academy. And it was all it's one thing that it's always been is it's been honest. Okay. It's not been entirely and only commercially driven, though it is important to have money to pay the bills and even to maintain. Right now we have an organization of, now it's about 45 people, and I have to pay the salaries every month, and so we need to be careful and we need to be organized, but we're not a profit driven place. It's not been, and you can just go and look and whatever. I guess every company has to put up their results. We've been a loss-making company forever. Not loss-making, but not profit-making either. We take salary, sometimes we take less salary. But the money was, and working in corporate, there was the amount of money that would come and the perks and everything. Giving all of that up was definitely scary.
Yeah. I can relate to this.
Scary, man. Yeah, I know, you guys, all of it. But look, that's the thing with this. It wasn't like I was quitting my job to start a venture or do something else. It was to continue doing something. So I was already playing, right? I was from college. I worked for 11 or 12 years I had a full-time job. I mean, that 1 year in between was a gap as well. But so I was already playing for 10 years. And that's when you realize, okay, now if you need to do this means you have to be doing this. So there's no like, okay, I'll practice for 1 hour every day and then I'll be fine and all that. You got to be doing this.
You need to put a proper.
Yeah, you should be doing something else for 1 hour a day, and you should be playing.
Yes.
Or thinking about, or studying, or reading, or teaching.
Yeah.
So everyone, like even guys like Dave Eckel, who's my, I follow him. Even till today, he's teaching. He has his own music school, and he's got an online thing, and a lot of big international musicians we met. I've met Simon Phillips and a lot of guys. I mean, they still teach. So, but you're concerned with music.
I think there is a cycle there, right? You constantly growing internally within the space that you are. In your case, music. In my case, what I'm doing about change. We go deeper and deeper and deeper. We learn new things, discover.
Yes.
But the teaching is what completes the whole thing. Because when you teach is when you also learn in the process. You get better at it. You ask more questions. You come back to it.
Definitely.
And that's that whole
Definitely.
growth that
Definitely.
is happening.
There's nothing, and that's why it's so rewarding being in the education domain, and with it being actually we are doing a much more difficult job than a lot of the mainstream schools today.
Yeah.
So the mainstream schools, okay, they have 1,000 kids, let's say. I mean, it's all broken into huge groups. Okay, we are doing over 500 one-on-one classes. Okay, each one of that is an account. Okay, you're accountable, not as an account. I mean, you're accountable for each one of those children's musical growth and musical journey with one teacher and one student. Then, of course, we go into schools as well. We have the music department that we run in schools, and again over there, it's so difficult to articulate and to convince schools that I'm not going to come with 20 keyboards and 20 tablas and say everybody learn now together, vajao. There'll be 80% of those kids who will hate music, and we'll never do that. One of the things we tell all our teachers is your prime responsibility is to light that spark and make them love music, and everything will become good in their life. You're doing that. I mean, even if they don't play well, we have people who've been learning with academy, for 12, 13 years and all that. They're not like the greatest guitarist now or the greatest drummer now, but they can't live without it.
Yeah.
And it makes such a difference. And we have CEOs of companies who come and learn with us. In fact, 3 of the people who invested initially in our company were students. All of them were students. Yeah, all our students only invested in us. They put in money in different ways. And these are like top-notch businessmen. They're industrialists, very, very respected. And they saw what we were doing, and they're still learning. And they're still going. And it gives them a lot of them tell me it's better than golf.
Has auto-tune irritated you?
I don't listen to all that stuff.
Yeah?
Honestly. I mean, on the radio and all that, 24/7, all this stuff is played, and that's not my listening. I listen to a lot of stuff. I listen, even new, really great
What do you
new
listen
bands.
to
So many new bands are there. Oh, there's a band called Elbow that I've been listening to a lot. Elbow, it's a Brit band. It's reminds me of our kind of music.
Elbow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a nice alternative band. But I'm listening to a lot of Western classical, actually, mainly getting into all the older stuff. And, a lot of jazz. And it comes to easy understanding. Yeah. What are the new ones? Recently, suddenly we started listening to a lot of the older grunge stuff that we hadn't listened to in a long time. So like Smashing Pumpkins, I used to be a hardcore fan of, and I'd forgotten about them. And recently when we were driving back from Chennai, somebody was playing it and we were like, shit, this is so good, so good.
Yeah.
We were like loving it. Soundgarden.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm introducing my daughter to some of these now.
But everything. I listen to so much. I recently went to Amritsar. Okay, I went to Golden Temple and the Gurbani that happens over there. Oh my God, the music, the the tabla playing is insane. And so I listen to that also. Live transmission happens every day.
Yeah.
So I log in and I listen to that.
Yeah.
So
we follow, there's this Kabir festival.
Yeah,
I was just telling them about it. So that's something we were planning to sort of follow the artists and go to. It's really beautiful. They set it up in these really, in nature with the sun rising, and you have this artist and just.
No, that's the thing, I mean, I think at the end of the day, what you're looking for is this sincerity in music.
Yeah.
That is all that is required. It can be like when Nirvana plays, or even in academy, some of the youngest bands, when they perform, when they're sincere about what they're playing, that energy that comes out, nobody else. I mean, you can't get that through AI.
Yeah.
I mean, there will be a setting called insincerity meter and all. I'm sure soon they'll try to model that also. But there's something about sincerity when you play something. It's again about who you are that comes out when you play like that, and that's all that's important.
And what does Attitude Makeover mean to you?
Giving a voice of some kind of experience in various domains to motivate people, to get them thinking that it's all possible. It's not like some huge thing. Honestly, even me quitting my job, I'm telling you, I was on a business class flight, and then in the Shivajinagar bus stand, getting in a bus with a bunch of people all squashed in. It's not a bad thing. It's quite amazing how all of that stuff happens. So it's you only have these walls in your mind.
Yeah.
So fearlessly live. And I think that's what Attitude Makeover is doing. Fearlessly, boldly go.
Thank you so
Simply
much.
be.
Thank you. From learning music all by yourself to really running TAAQ and changing the game.
Still
in
learning,
India.
always student. And yeah, academy, Thermal and Aquara, it's been incredible. I'm really lucky to be playing with such amazing musicians and such amazing people, all, trying to do something and keep it going. And with academy, bunch of amazing musicians again here and non-musicians, all our staff over here, amazing human beings. And that's the first thing we do. Set that and then work. Yeah, everybody makes mistakes, something or the other happens. Biggest mistake is when it comes to businesses.
Booed. Were you booed on stage?
Of course.
Yeah,
Of
what was the
course.
worst experience?
Oh, I remember one of the things that comes to my
Like
mind.
booed.
Madras,
Booed on stage.
properly booed. Yeah, Madras Christian College. We were playing. The crowd was going on. Bon Jovi. They wanted us to play Bon Jovi. And we were playing only our own music. We didn't play any covers. And so Rudy and Bruce turned towards me. Their face, and we played only for us. So the crowd is booing, fully booing, properly booing. Luckily, I think we got stuff thrown at us also. A bottle, normally water bottle, it's come flying. And I'm a sitting duck. At least these guys can move and all that. Well, that's happened. Lots.
Wow. The most dangerous one? Was there anything like...
There was a guy who came up on stage and held my shoulders while I was playing a song once and started shaking me vigorously. They wanted us to play some Bollywood song or something like that, and a big fight broke out and all of that. That's happened once. And more dangerous. We played at some extreme weather conditions. Yeah, we played in this place called Rathangan in Ireland. We were doing a gig, and it's a small, tiny village, and it went down to -7 or -8. It's crazy cold it was. And we were open. Of course, we were fully padded and all, but open we were playing. It was crazy cold.
But your drums?
Our legs, nothing's moving. The warm up, everything, and then come.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And please spread the word about academy.
Yes, absolutely.
And keep us going. Yeah,
Thank
thank you.